about there? We are back with another entry into my indie news series. Today's September 20th, 2025, and getting right into it. This feels like it's been a long week. This feels like it's old news from a couple of weeks ago, but Escape from Tarkov has a Steam page up, and somehow everybody got pissed off at it. So if you're not following Escape from Tarkov, this is releasing out of early access into full release with all the story and everything added into it on November 15th, 2025. I am very much looking forward to it. I didn't take the day off because even though I'm playing PvE, which is offline, I expect there to be a big problem that day. So I'm just going to let all the servers and all that stuff hash it out that first day, let the overwhelming masses get in there and then come in on the next day. But this is coming out on November 15th, and they've got a Steam page up. They've got the arena mode over on Epic Games, which I presume arena mode is going to come to Steam, and I presume the regular game is going to come to Epic and all that. But it only makes sense to have this on the biggest gaming platform that exists, the biggest PC gaming platform, or Epic Games or something, even if they put it on like GOG. It makes sense to spread this out because I kind of feel like they've already sold the game to everybody that wants to play it, but you get it out to other eyeballs and, some of the bigger platforms. It's going to smooth things over. And I was trying to figure out reasons why you would want to have this on Steam. You've got, people are looking forward to the reviews because they want to just hate on the game or whatever. People are looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing player counts. I'm kind of curious how this goes because if you look at Diablo 4, everybody already bought the game on Battle.net and the numbers on Steam are very low because of that. So I'm interested to see how this is, how many people actually buy it over here. And it would be kind of cool to see player count. Obviously, you'll see if they do wipes and things like that or add content, you'll see player counts return and ebb and flow and things like that. So it's going to be kind of cool to see. But one of the, so from a person that already owns the I already own Escape from Tarkov with BSG. I bought it over there. I have no dog in the fight to own this thing on Steam. I don't care. If they gave me a free Steam key, I'd be like, all right, cool. I feel like that would just add a step to it because you still have to load the game from Steam, which opens the BSG launcher, regardless of what you do, and then you go into the game. So from my standpoint, I don't necessarily care about having, I would love to have the game on Steam for sure, but I don't need it on Steam, so I don't really understand the controversy around it. However, I did think of one example of where it would be cool to have the game on Steam is if for some reason it remembers the Steam user as a different user than the BSG launcher user, if that makes sense. So like I have the Unheard edition and I bought it right when the Unheard edition came out. I wanted PvE. So I bought it because of that. Well, I upgraded to it. I had the EOD edition and then I upgraded into the Unheard. There was this massive controversy, which I'm not even going to start getting into that. I could care less about it. I wanted the PvE mode. I was happy to pay more for it. But because I was in that first wave of people that bought it, they gave me basically a free second account. So I've actually got 2 accounts because of purchasing the Unheard edition early on. So because I have 2 accounts, I could do my standard account, which has all the stash space and all the stuff that I get on that. I can also have a secondary account, which is just a standard account, PvE mode, whatever I've added PvE mode to it, but it's a second account I could do like hardcore on. So what I think would be cool is, and I don't think it's going to work this way, I'm going to assume it just remembers the last person used, but if for some reason Steam remembered my main account and then the BSG launcher remembered my hardcore account, I could see that being something that I would use it for, but then I'd have 3 accounts because you basically have to buy another version of it. Well, actually, yeah, I guess I would have 3 accounts. So you'd have to buy a third one which if you buy that, it remembers that because you're logging in through the BSG launcher, it remembers that I have the Unheard edition and gives me the biggest version that I've got. I don't know. It's kind of messy. I don't particularly care if I get it on Steam. I've already got everything I need through BSG's launcher and everything's good over there. The one big thing that I could see this being very useful for new players and not existing people that already have the game, already bought it over there. But when I first bought this game back in, I think it was 2017 or something like that, you're buying this game from a Russian developer, it's like, I don't know, that's kind of shady on that. You're buying it from this weird thing called Exala. And, that seems kind of shady too. It's not PayPal or Steam or anything like that. So I think this more legitimizes the payment process to it, the whole thing. I've bought other stuff through Exala, so I'm not foreign to it now. But at the time, it was like, man, this is a Russian game. are they going to try to steal our details? Is this Ixala thing going to steal my credit card information and stuff like that? Like there was all these weird questions. So getting it out on a major platform like eases you into buying it because it's just going to be right there. So I think that'll be cool. But otherwise, I think this whole controversy about not getting a Steam key is just stupid and a waste of time. It is what it is. It's the way the Tarkov community goes. They get up in arms about pretty much everything, whether it's got legitimacy to it or not. So I'm very much looking forward to November 15th. There's a Steam page up. If you're interested in it and for some reason don't already have it, dive into it. And if this is controversial to you, I'd be curious to see why, because I really don't feel it. Even though I've got the game and my preference is Steam, I think it's a non-issue myself. But anyway, let's move on. We got some Titan Quest 2 news. They posted this the other day. It says, venture into the mythic coasts of the northern beaches in Chapter 2 of Titan Quest 2. And they didn't really say anything else about it. Like they give you all these details about what's coming and everything. Like it sounds cool, but the way this was worded and the way this came out, I thought, oh, they've added it. And I just go, fire up the game and it's there. Well, it's coming soon. They didn't really say that. Like up here, it says venture into the mythic coast. It sounds like the way they've worded this, it's out now and ready to go. Coming soon, you will venture into I think they could have worded this a lot better, but it sounds like this is sooner than later, as soon can be, I guess. But it doesn't sound like this is going to be a 2026 chapter. It sounds like it's going to be maybe October, November, something like that. They didn't really specify, so it's kind of just guessing at this point. But we have Titan Quest 2 news. It sounds like Chapter 2 is well on its way and should be getting here in the fairly near future, I'm guessing. As far as I could tell, I looked at different social media like X and Reddit and tried to figure out and also on the Steam forums here, like the developer did respond or their community manager or whatever, somebody responded and said, yeah, soon. So I'm not the only one that got duped on this whole deal. This is just some really poorly worded stuff on their part. I think they could have done this a little better. It's like they're sending out hype, not, hey, it's here now versus kind of thing. But we got Titan Quest 2 news. Chapter 2 is soon TM. Moving into major updates this week, we have Dragonkin the Banished with the tracker update. I had forgotten what classes were in this game. I played it when it came out and put a little bit of time into it and when it launched into early access and picked a character and played for a while, but I kind of just forgot what classes there were. So when they said they were adding the tracker, I was like, okay, whatever. Well, this time when I fired it up the other day, I decided to go through and play the game from scratch, and you can start with the prelude if you want, or you can ignore it. When you start with the prelude, you actually play there's 4 classes in the game. There's the Knight, Oracle, Barbarian, and Tracker. And when it came out in early access, you only had 3 of those to select from when you actually wanted to go play the game. You could play all 4 in the prelude, but you couldn't select the tracker. And I'd forgotten about that. So when I started this off in the prelude and I saw that, I was like, oh, I know what the tracker is. That's the range class we didn't have. The range class felt way OP, and it feels really good to play through the game with. I wasn't sure if I was going to pick the tracker. I thought maybe I'd just pick a different class. I always start with melee. I figured I'd go over into like the Oracle, which is more of a magic class. I don't know what the Barbarian is exactly. I think it's more spin to win kind of things or something like that. But the Tracker is a ranged class. And when I started playing this with the ranged, I was like, oh yeah, this is really cool. Now, I do think the game is a little better off than it was in early access, maybe because it's had time to digest, but when it was going in, or when it went into early access, I was thinking, yeah, it feels more like a 6 out of a 10 game. Now it's starting to feel a little bit more like a 7 out of 10. Like it's not going to be some amazing game that gets all these awards or anything. It feels like a really solid ARPG, and I do like some of the systems in here. The hex grid system, so instead of a passive tree, and instead of giving you skills like Path of Exile does with skill gems or something like that, and instead of giving you a passive tree like most of these ARPGs have, they give you this hex grid system, which is a combination of skills and passive tree. And the way you put all that together is fairly unique. And I like that. I like to see developers take a chance and do something different. The story seems cool. They've got like a little city building feature to it. And I've enjoyed what I've played. I definitely want to spend a little bit more time with it. There's the hex grid system on the screen there. I think it's very cool. I like what I see so far, and I'm enjoying my playthrough with it. It's kind of along the lines of Last Epoch in some regards, although they've got some in-game and things like that in here, kind of like Last Epoch, but a little bit different. The interesting thing about this is you can just fire up right into in-game and skip the story. You can, if you want to skip the prelude, you can. If you want to skip the story, you can. You can just take a character right into in-game, which it's very cool to see something like this compared to, say, like Path of Exile 2, where you have to go through the campaign and then you get to the end game or something like that. It's kind of neat to see the way they're doing things differently than everybody else is doing. So at least kudos for all that. The game feels really cool, and they've added the class that was missing at the beginning. So there's some mixed reviews on it right now. I don't know. We'll see I haven't looked at the mixed reviews. I enjoyed what I played and I've liked it. And it is currently on sale for $19.99. If you're intrigued by this game or interested in it in any way, shape, or form, it is in early access. So, it's going to take time to get the full game developed, but I've enjoyed what I've played so far. And this update added a class that was missing, and it's a pretty cool game. So anyway, this is Dragonkin the Banished. And another game we've looked at on the channel before is Yollen. This is a little bit of an idle game, kind of like old school RuneScape, Melver Idle, sort of that kind of thing. They've done a big balance patch. They've added a few things in here. I think that I saw that there's extra monsters. There's some extra things, 2 skills, like maybe a couple more rocks to bang on for mining or something like that. I don't know. They've done a big balance patch to this. So they've also added more achievements, so you can add more stash space and things like that. So they've done a little bit of a content update, and looks like they've rebalanced a lot of the content. So if you're interested in Yollen, they've got a big patch for it, which has addressed some of the issues or complaints that people have had. And another game we've looked at on the channel earlier was Tower of Kalemonvo. This is straight up Diablo 1 worship. This game is hard as balls. They've now added a new game plus, so if you didn't think the game was hard enough, they've made it even harder. This is a game I really need to sit down and play and beat and spend more quality time with. I loved it. This is very much the original Diablo 1, just in modern form and with modern graphics and modern quality of life and stuff like that. But I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. I need to get back and revisit this and try to actually beat it. It was a hard game. It was tough. It had all the hallmarks of the original Diablo, but more of a hardcore experience, because if you died, you were just done. You could reload from your save and try again, but there was no starting back in town and coming back in. You just died. So you had to reload and make better decisions the second time around. But the big update for Tower of Kalemonvo is adding New Game Plus. So if you thought the game was easy, they've made it even harder. And the last major update I wanted to talk about is for the game Stationeers. Now, if you've never heard of this is a space game. I think it's really cool. I think this game is probably a little too nerdy for me even. You have to sit down and like calculate PSI and things like that. Like it gets intricate. I've checked it out very briefly. I need to really sit down with it someday and just visit this thing. It's kind of Astroneers, a little bit Space Engineers, that kind of thing, but like on a way more difficult level. It's not necessarily an arcadey kind of game. Like you have to do a lot of power calculations, things like that to figure it all out. It's a little bit Factorio built into there. Like it gets kind of crazy from what I gather, but they've done a big balance pass across the terrain system and things like that. This game's been in early access for a while. And if I'm reading the tea leaves, it sounds like they're gearing up for a 1.0 maybe or something like that. They didn't really say that necessarily, but with all the stuff that they've put, all the effort they put into fixing whatever terrain issues, like old code, basically going and redeveloping things and fixing it and bringing it up. It sounds like they're trying to gear up for something. So this is a big update to fix a lot of the older systems that they had. This is a very cool game. It's one that I want to play, but I'm a little bit daunted by it. But if you didn't know this existed, this is a simulation, survival kind of thing in space, along the lines of, like I said, Astroneers, Space Engineers, that kind of thing. Like you have to build your station and put all the components and stuff together, but there's a little bit more nerdy spreadsheet stuff to it. But if you're into that kind of thing, I think this game's pretty cool. I probably should go revisit it again and see if it's any easier or not, a little bit more user-friendly than it was, but it looks very cool. And they had a pretty big update with just getting all the underlying coding and terrain and all that stuff. So figured it was worth a mention. This game's always intrigued me at the very least. And there's a new demo playtest thing up for Spaceship Idle. If you're interested in this is playtest 2. I checked it out in the playtest 1. I thought about doing a video for it, but the game is not out yet. It's not even early access. It's not even released. There's a demo, and I didn't even know the demo was going to come to an end. So if I'd have done the video, it would have came to an end, and then we'd be looking at playtest 2. But that's what this news series is for. So this has got 6 to 8 hours of content if you want to try it out. This looked really cool. You got to go build a ship, and then it's like an idler where you go fight other things off as you go through it. I thought it was pretty cool, and I didn't spend a ton of time with what I played, but what I did spend with it, I thought was really cool. It's one of those that once it does get into early access, we'll take a big look at it for sure. But they've now got a playtest 2 if you're interested in checking this out. Moving into new releases, we have Cultic Chapter 2 out. So this game is getting released in a little bit different way than most developers do. I think a lot of developers just do early access, and then you buy the game at a cheap price, and then all the content is free from that point forward, or you wait and pay the full price when the game comes out or if it's on sale or something like that. But they're doing things a little bit differently with this game. And when they mentioned this, I remember them saying this when they launched into early access, that it was going to be a different release than other games. But I didn't quite get what they meant. But now that Chapter 2 is out, I see what they're saying. So they released Chapter 1 in its entirety as the game. Chapter 2 is DLC for Chapter 1. So it's the entire Chapter 2 fully developed and everything. It's not in early access or anything like that. But we don't have Chapter 3 yet. So we have to, and then we will have to buy Chapter 3 as its own thing for like $10 or whatever. There was no discount for owning the previous version or launch discount or anything like that. So I don't know. I kind of would have liked that, but I went ahead and picked it up. This is a very cool game. It's a mixture. It's a boomer shooter mixture of like Blood, Duke Nukem, Doom, like it's all that, but it's totally different. And it's this really cool slasher type horror game, something along those lines. I think it's really cool. I'm looking forward to diving into it. I've got a little bit of time into Chapter 1. This is probably going to be a video. I'll probably work on this one for Halloween. I think this would be a good game to talk about for the Halloween season, but big update with this one is Chapter 2 is out now if you're interested in this one. Next big release that I saw come out this week is Deep Rock Galactic Survivor Mode. This came out of early access into full 1.0. I thought this was pretty cool. It's a vampire survivor style game set in the Deep Rock Galactic universe. I thought it looked really cool. I barely put any time into it. I had a phase with survivor games where I was picking up just about anything that came out or anything that looked really good. And now that this one's out into full 1.0, I thought it was cool back then. I need to revisit it now that it's out into full and see how it plays, because I didn't really spend much time with it. But now that it's out, I should do a deep dive into it. But there's so many games, just not enough time. But this one came out. It is on sale for $9 at the moment. So if you're interested in this one, check it out. I thought it was cool from what I played, especially if you like Deep Rock Galactic. I think it's the cool universe. I think what they did with this and the way they brought in the Deep Rock Galactic mechanics of mining and things like that, I think this really exemplified both the Vampire Survivors idea as well as the Deep Rock Galactic. It just kind of brought the two together very naturally, and it looked really cool. Again, I need to spend more time with it myself, but I thought it was really cool. So this is Deep Rock Galactic Survivor out of early access into full 1.0, currently on sale for $9. And then this is one I actually got through my Steam recommendations. This is Katanaut. This came out on September 10th. It is currently on sale for $14.39. This is basically Dead Space meets Metroid, if you want to look at it that way. It's a procedurally generated Metroidvania kind of thing where you just go around and blast things. There's a katana, there's various firearms and things like that. A lot of it's just going to be katana stuff. This reminds me of a game called Carrion. I loved Carrion. Carrion is a horror game where you play the monster and you got to go around. It was a short game, but I loved it. I thought it was really cool. This game is kind of that way in respect to the platforming, side-scrolling gore aspects of it all. Like, you're not necessarily the monster. You're playing through pretty much Dead Space and trying to get out. You know, I wouldn't even call it Alien. It's more Dead Space than anything. What I played of it, I thought was really cool, and I look forward to playing more. It's a roguelike, which, if you know me, and I've mentioned it on other videos where I've done rogue-style games, I get bored with them very quickly because you start over from the very beginning all the time, but they sucker me in with these amazing concepts, And this one is no exception. I don't know how long I'll stick with playing it, but this is really cool. This is one I probably should do an October video for because it's going to fit right in with all the blood and gore and everything. But this game looks crazy. It's been a lot of fun what I've played of it. I've very much enjoyed it. So this is Katanaut. It just came out on September 10th, and it is currently on sale. Moving over into the coming soon section, we have Hyperviolent. This one is another early access game that is releasing into 1.0. This is coming out on September 23rd. I played a little bit of this the other day. I was checking it out because I was like, all right, I want to see what this is before they release it. I picked this up, obviously in early access a while back, and I've been waiting on it to come out. Just the name alone kind of sells me. This is kind of a boomer shooter game. They list Lovecraftian on the door tags here, but when I started this, it's a little bit more Half-Life, a lot of System Shock in here, maybe a little bit of Doom, but I get the feeling the way this starts off and the way it presents itself is it's taking some inspiration from Half-Life, and then as the game plays forward, a little bit more of the System Shock variety. I've recently, well, a couple of years ago, I played through the System Shock remake when it came out, and I loved it. I had never played System Shock before, so this has kind of got that immersive sim where you got to go get the key cards, put it into a reader and things like that, or you have to go turn some power on or do some things like that, which is a little bit Half-Life, a little bit System Shock, and fighting all these weird monsters, and another good horror themed game that'd probably be good for an October video. But Hyperviolent is coming out on September 23rd into full 1.0 if you're interested in it. I believe there's going to be a launch discount for it. Don't quote me on that. I think I remember reading that in their release notes, but more to be seen on September 23rd. And a quick reminder that we have Kingmakers coming out on October 8th. They've not shifted the schedule yet. This is a game where you're in medieval times of 1400 or 1000, whatever year this takes place in, and you're running around with Apache choppers and machine guns and stuff. This game looks hilarious, and I'm here for it day one, good, bad, or indifferent. I am very excited for this game to see how it turns out. This one is coming out on October 8th, and so far they haven't pushed anything or changed the schedule. And then to close everything out, we're going to nerd out a little bit on some World War I games. Blackmill Games has developed Isonzo, Verdun, and Tannenberg. I loved them. I think they're fantastic games. I know I'm a niche gamer in a lot of respects, so I don't necessarily, I understand why these aren't full mainstream games like something like Battlefield 1. These are World War I themed games where you've got bolt action rifles. You do get some machine guns and some semi-autos and things like that, but it's what was in World War I. I think these guys pride themselves on developing things that are a little bit more authentic. You don't get the vehicle experience that you get out of something like Battlefield 1, but each one of the games they've released so far has been a little bit different. I think Tannenberg was like the more open conquest style game modes and things like that. I can't remember Verdun exactly, but one in between Verdun and Isonzo, I don't remember them exactly, but one of them had a lot of trench warfare and the other one was a little bit different. They're always in a different scene of war, and I expect no less from Gallipoli. It's going to be in a different theater of war, I guess is the word to say there, but they all take place in a different theater. They all have different weapons, factions, and different styles of game. Like you've got the Tannenberg is, like I said, I think it's the more conquest oriented one, whereas Verdun or Isonzo or something like that are a little bit more trench warfare. And you get different things like you can call in mustard gas and things like that, but not every game has that. It's like theater appropriate for what they had. They strive for that authenticity, but you get an online experience, which the interesting thing about this one is they add a lot of AI. And I know people don't like necessarily fighting AI, but the cool thing is you could be 1v1. It's like 32 or 64 players or something like that. But you could be 1v1ing each other in the middle of the week. And then on the weekend, when everybody's off, a lot of people will flock into the game and fill the game up. So if you wanted to go play it, you might be fighting 32 on 32 of real people. And then through the week, it's 1v1 with all the AI floating around. And the AI does tend to seem to follow you. If you're like one or two people, they'll follow you around to try to cap flags and stuff like that. So it's kind of an interesting take. You can play the game almost at any time you want. And sometimes are better than others because there'll be more of the community out. And there's not a whole ton of people that play this, but I've loved every game I've played from this. I'm very much looking forward to Gallipoli, and this one got announced. It's coming out in sometime in 2026. I'm going to be there for it, and I don't know, maybe I'll revisit some of these other ones. I don't play these all that much, but every once in a while I get the urge to just sit with a bolt action and blast somebody. And this lets you sit in a trench and blast at people or push and try to take objectives and things like that. they're different. Let's just say that. They're different. I love them, and I am here for Gallipoli when it comes out. So that is all the news that I have from this week, all the news that popped up on Steam, at least, that I thought looked pretty cool. That's going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.